Well, I rarely ever buy factory ammo. 28 bucks. This is 180 grain, probably not the best for a 1 in 10 twist. 175 grain, 175 grain, 180 grain. No, 175 grain 308 premium. Pretty awesome factory ammunition. 35 bucks, holy smokes. You know, they do have this here. This is 168 grain. I've usually found out that 168 grain works great in 1 in 10 twist. 308 chambers. I think for 34 bucks, this is going to be the route to go, at least for the initial factory shots out of this firearm. To the point, formative, entertaining, and protecting the Second Amendment. Welcome back to Elfster's Rifles and Reloading. In the review of the PSA Gen3 AR10 with a 308 chamber. Now, just to be crystal clear with you guys, this was sent to me for T&E purposes. I did not pay for this, but I'm going to show you as it happens out in the range. You're going to see it as it's being shot. And matter of fact, if you check out my video list on my channel, if you've been watching the last two live reloading events, matter of fact, we prepped up this Lake City brass. The first one was prepping 7.62 by 51 Lake City brass for 20-inch heavy 308. That's where we pulled out some Lake City brass. We called it, make sure we got all the bad pieces out of there. We decapped it. We cut out the crimp. We put it in the wash and also got it in the Lyman cycle and case dryer. And then in the latest live reloading event, annealing 308, obviously we annealed it using the EP 2.0 annealer. And up to that point, I had to stop. I couldn't go any further because I need to size this brass now. And when I did those last two live reloading events, I didn't receive this yet. And I just got this a couple days ago. And there's a few things I need to get done. I need to go out to the range and shoot some factory ammunition that I have laying around to see how that fire forms, so I know what to set the bump headspace on this Lake City brass. So when you get done with this video, if you happen to not see those last two live reloading events, I highly suggest checking those out. And then when we get done with this part of the series, I'm going to do another live reloading event of actually resizing this brass and the continuation of that reloading. But with that being said, you know, there's a couple reasons why I wanted to do this collaboration with PSA on this particular rifle. You know, if I had a friend of mine just got into reloading or didn't reload at all, and he said, hey, Elfster, I want to get an AR10. Should I get a 308? And there's a couple things I would bring up to that person. I would say, hey, first and foremost, if you are going to reload, and price is not an issue, you want the utmost accuracy out of it. I probably looked more towards something like a 6.5 Creedmoor from PSA rather than a 308. It's just going to be inherently accurate, more accurate. Let's just be honest. Or if you're going to do a custom rig, maybe even potentially look at something like a 6 Creedmoor. But with that being said, my PSA 6.5 Creedmoor is an absolute laser. So if you reload and price is not an issue, you're looking for the most utmost accuracy, that's probably the route I would suggest going. But with that being said, I think everyone should have a 308 AR10 in their collection. And for me, it's for a couple reasons. First and foremost is Lake City brass. I can get Lake City 7.62 by 51 Lake City brass for dirt cheap. Matter of fact, I just bought 1,000 pieces from a gentleman off Facebook in a closed group for less than $100. We're talking less than 10 cents a piece. And in comparison to something like Starline brass, or especially higher end brass like Lapua, you're just not going to get that. And what's nice about Lake City brass is it's extremely heavy duty. It lasts a long time. You can get a lot of fires on it, and obviously it's just really inexpensive. If you're looking for something that has really inexpensive playtime out the range, you're just looking for some trigger time, some pretty decent accuracy, then this might be the route to go, especially if you reload. If you don't reload, and you might have to look at the situation of 6.5 Creedmoor versus 308, which should I get? You know, more times than not, when ammunition is hard to get. You're most likely going to be able to get 308 ammunition a lot easier than 6.5 Creedmoor. Although I'll say in the last couple of years that has changed. I would say it's pretty much neck and neck with a slight edge towards 308. I guess when you talk about, hits the fan type of thing, 308, I guess will probably have an advantage over that. But to be honest with you, I don't really look at it that way. But that's why I wanted to do this, is I wanted to get a nice AR10 and a 308 cartridge, because I'm literally sitting on strictly Lake City brass, and that is damn near the only reason why I would get something like this as a high-end reloader, I guess. Also, the reason why I picked this particular AR10 and a 308 is the fact that it has a heavy barrel. It doesn't have an A2 style profile barrel. I'm not a huge fan of AR10s that have pencil barrels or A2 style barrels. That's just my honest opinion. I mean, it's going to be heavy regardless. For me, I'm going to be shooting from a bench anyways. I'm not going to be, dredging this thing through the woods. If you are going to take it through the woods, especially for deer hunting, you might want to look at something like an A2 style 18-inch or maybe even a 16-inch flavor. I don't think PSA carries a 16-inch, but I think they do have an 18-inch and an A2 style profile. It's a little less weight on the barrel, less weight overall on the firearm. But for me, it's more about accuracy. I'm shooting from a bench, and I don't want the heat build up in that barrel to ruin the accuracy. And that's where a heavy profile AR10 really starts to shine. And like I said, my 6.5 Creedmoor from PSA that I did a review on 1 or 2 years ago. Check out my playlist area. I have that entire start to finish reloading series, taking out the range, shooting those results on paper. That thing is an absolute laser. And I'm insanely impressed what you get for the money. And hopefully I get the same out of this 308. But with that being said, make sure you check out those live reloading events, especially if you're just getting into reloading. I'm going to go through this whole reloading series live between these edited versions of the series. And yeah, enough said. Enough of the BS talk. Let's go to the overview of this firearm. And then we are going to run out to the range, shoot some factory ammunition just to see where that brass Fireform's at, so we know what to set the headspace for this Lake City brass, because we're up to the point of resizing it now. And then we'll come back, do our final thoughts, and then after that, you're going to anticipate more live reloading events to come, finishing this ammunition and shooting it through this very rifle. Let's get this going. All right, so not to worry, I'm going to patch you into my computer screen so you can see what's going on here, and I will splice in some pictures of the rifle overview as we go. But let me start recording my screen here. And, whenever I have a friend that comes up to me and says they want an affordable AR10, I instantly beeline them to Palmetto State Armory. It seems like the selection comes and goes weekly, so you really got to keep an eye on that, especially if there happens to be an AR10 that they might not happen to have in stock at the time. More times than not, within a week or two, it'll most likely come in stock. But just to show you the tremendous selection that they have to offer here. I mean, this is literally just the first page, and there's 3 other pages here. But if I click on show only in stock, just give you an idea. We're talking some AR10s here, 18-inch. These most likely have an A2 profile barrel. So if you want a lighter weight AR10, less than $1,000, less than $900. If you keep on going down the list here, this one even has free shipping for less than $900. It's just crazy. This one here with a 6.5 Creedmoor, I believe this has a 20-inch heavy barrel. It's the one I have. It's absolute freaking laser. I absolutely love that thing. Amazing bang for the buck, especially for what you're getting. But just to show you what they kind of have in stock right now, they do show 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 7.62 by 39. Let me just double check that. All the way up to 7.62 by 51 NATO. It seems like their main selection here would be the 308 Winchester and the 7.62 by 51 NATO, and the 6.5 Creedmoor. But the one that I selected here is the PSA Gen 3, the 20-inch heavy profile, and that is the skew right here. And just kind of do a quick overview of this here on the product details. So they show a barrel length of 20-inch 416R stainless steel. Obviously, I went for the heavy. I'm not a fan of the A2 personally. I just like to get that heavy barrel so it can withstand the heat and not ruin the accuracy. This is chambered in 308, not 7.62 by 51 NATO. And this has a 1 in 10 twist, which more times than not will favor like your 168 grain bolts more times than not, up to about a 175. At least in my past experience with my LMT modern weapon system, that had a 20-inch chrome line, which is an absolute laser too, but very, very expensive, well north of $3,000. That absolutely favored 168 bullets hands down, and some 175 grain bullets. But just to show you, the gas length on this is rifle length. This does have an adjustable gas block, 5-positional click switch adjustable gas block, and it's pretty standard handrail here. You know, they do offer some options here where the Picatinny rail is removed and they only have the front and rear sections of the Picatinny rail. At least at the time when I selected this, they didn't have that option. They just had the straight pick rail there. Some of this stuff is pretty basic. You know, it does show the 15-inch free flow anti-slip, anti-rotation features on the handguard. What's really nice is they have the Toolcraft PA10 bolt carrier group with the extra power extractor spring. The gas key and the castle nut is staked, so I did check that out. I'll tell you right out of the box, just checking out this trigger, the two-stage nickel boron trigger, I was actually really impressed. I thought it was something I was going to have to remove and replace. I did peek down into the lower receiver here, and I did notice that they must have upgraded the springs on that. I did test just manually, and I was quite impressed with how crisp it was, and I'm going to test that here in a little bit after we go over this overview. But this did come with a Magpul STR adjustable buttstock, 6-position telescoping stock. I did swap that out for the Luth MBA3, which is the Luth MBA for the carbine buffer tube, not the rifle length. They do make a rifle length MBA stock, which is the MBA1, so make sure you pay attention to that. A huge fan of this stock for what you get. And I would get this strictly for the reason that it has adjustable cheek weld. What else? This does have a pretty inexpensive PSA grip on it. I'm probably going to swap that out for more like a Magpul grip that has storage capabilities. And this did come with a 20-round PMag, just to show you here. So it did come with that PMag. For me personally, I like to rock the 10-round PMags so they don't hit the bench, especially with a 6-9 Harris bipod or a low-profile bipod. In my opinion, that's really important. But just go for some of the benefits at a glance here. So lower includes relief cuts for a broader capability with 308 bolt carrier groups. It's got the staked castle nut, which I just mentioned. Pretty standard buffer tube, heavy buffer. The 416R barrel that is dimpled. And what else here? Extra power spring, kind of already touched base with that. And that's about it. You know, it's a lot of bang for your buck AR10, and I'm actually quite impressed with it so far, at least initially right out of the box. And like I said, this has the heavy profile underneath the handguard in comparison to an A2 style profile, where it kind of slims down right here and then grows back up in size. And they do have this stamped here for 308 Winchester, the 1 in 10 twist, the standard A2 style bird cage flash hider or brake. But yeah, let's get this trigger tested here and see what it pulls at, and head out to the range and see how this fireforms some factory brass. All right, so first and foremost, I have verified that this firearm is safe. Let's take about 4 ratings here and see what kind of average we come up with.
So 3 pounds, 11 ounces. 3 pounds, 15 ounces. 3 pounds, 15 ounces.
And 3 pounds, 15 ounces, pretty consistent reading on this gauge for an average of 3 pounds, 14 ounces. And to be honest with you, I am so impressed with this trigger that I don't think I'm going to change it out. Especially, I do like the 2-stage trigger. It's got a nice crisp break to it. Little take up, hits the wall. And it is actually really, really crisp. I'm actually quite impressed that it comes with this specific trigger. So take up, so hitting the wall, and you can see how crisp this trigger is. Matter of fact, let's see if I can get it up a little bit closer to the video here. It hits the wall. It's, you know, for what you get for the price, it's pretty darn amazing. So just a couple quick notes here, especially if you plan on getting the Luth MBA3 buttstock. Make sure you got this adjusted damn near all the way out. If you don't do that, your charging handle is not going to clear. I do have this damn near set all the way back, and I just barely showed daylight on this cheek weld piece of the buttstock, so keep that in mind. If it does hit, it's probably not going to set the bolt carrier back far enough when you're locking this back in the magazine. But this is a 10 round P mag here, just to show you that this does lock back with no issues. So no problems there. It does drop free. This is the 20 round P mag that came with it. So it does lock back. No issues there. Drops free. And this is the C Products. It's actually a Duramag, but it's actually made by C Products here, made in the USA, steel magazine. So just kind of show you that here. So no problems with the different types of magazines that I plan on using. And I know some of you guys might be interested in this in regards to the fitment between the upper and lower receiver. There is a little bit of play between the upper and lower on this particular 308 AR10, but I would say this is very, very average. I definitely have seen worse. To be honest with you, I think when it comes to this, it's more of a luck of the draw. All right, so I got the upper off the lower. This is straight out of the box from PSA. I have yet to shoot this. I've yet to clean it. I like to clean at least the bore and the chamber when I first get a firearm. Make sure if there is any metal specks in there from the milling process, that is completely cleaned out for that first bullet goes down the bore. I believe on these AR10s though from PSA, being that they have adjustable gas block, I think they take a few shots to make sure that the gas block is adjusted properly, because being it's adjustable gas block, I'm sure they don't want their customers getting an AR10 not functioning right out of the gate. So maybe that might not matter. But let me patch you guys in right here so you can see what I'm seeing on the screen. So you guys are patched in right now. So this is the crown, and right out of the gate I'm seeing some interesting mill marks. So I would say it's roughly about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch. Some interesting mill marks on the very tip of that crown. I'm curious to see what that looks like once I'm able to clean this up a little bit. Let me gauge this gas port. So it's going to be right about there. Right around here should be the gas port, and there it is. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's not clipping one of the riflings. Most times, especially in a 5R barrel, 5 riflings in the barrel, it usually clips a rifling. This must be your 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, this is a 4R or 4 rifling bore, and it's nice that that gas port is not clipping one of the riflings. I definitely have had gas ports clip riflings before, and it doesn't really affect the accuracy at all, in my opinion. But I guess it's better to have it not clipped than to clip. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to beeline it right down to the lands and check that out. So here's the start of the bore. I'm seeing some carbon fouling here and a little bit of a carbon ring. So this has definitely been fired at PSA. Like I said, I've been told from PSA, anything with adjustable gas block, I believe they do take some preliminary shots, make sure that that adjustable gas block is tuned. We can go down to the start of the chamber here. So here's the body of the chamber. I'm going to spin this around as I come through. And then here is the shoulder. So we're definitely seeing some carbon fouling there, especially here is the neck. So definitely need to clean this up a little bit before we take our first shots. So here are the lands, which I usually beeline it to check out. So far they look really, really consistent, other than this one. This one's a little bit of an oddball, but it's not bad. Let's see, here's 1, 2, 3. Those 3 look really consistent in this one. The 4th one looks a little bit of an oddball, but it's feathered out to the point where I don't think I'm totally concerned about it. Let me move up onto the lands here a little bit more to show you the consistency of the lands. So yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, obviously this isn't a Krieger barrel, but this is a mass-produced AR10, and I would say that's acceptable. Nothing I would bitch about for such an inexpensive AR10. Looks like it's a little rough. It might take 100 or 200 rounds to smoothen out those lands, but you just don't know how it shoots until you get one of those bullets down the bore. But let's pick a miscellaneous rifling here, like this one right here. I'm going to follow this to the muzzle. So far this particular rifling looks very consistent. So I won't say it doesn't look like a lot of shots have been shot through this. I'm going to guess just a few shots. I'm sure they're doing that to adjust that adjustable gas block. This is a 20-inch heavy profile barrel. And we're back to the crown. So let's get this cleaned up and we'll re-bore scope this again, and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, so I got this bore all cleaned up. Hopefully you can see some of these imperfections just a little bit better, especially in the last 1/8 of an inch of the crown there. I'm going to patch you guys in right now, so you should be seeing what I see on the screen. So once again, we're back at the crown. Like I said, we got some interesting mill marks there, and roughly last 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, I'm guessing. Hopefully that doesn't affect accuracy. That is on the very last bit of the crown. But like I said, you just don't know until you shoot it. Let's check out that gas port once again. Now we got this all cleaned up. So there is the gas port. It gives you an idea. You can kind of see down the hole there a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't say I overly scrubbed this barrel. It's just enough to get the first shots down the tube. So let's beeline it down to the lands. So this is the start of the bore, just to give you an idea of the start of the lands, or this is also known as the free bore. Here's the lands themselves. So yeah, got some rough scratches in there, and that will most likely smoothen out after a couple hundred rounds. Like I said, this isn't a Krieger barrel. This is a $900 AR10. There's that one oddball rifling. Otherwise, the rest of them look pretty consistent. So, like I said, I didn't totally scrub down this bore. A little bit of that carbon ring still there, but not a big deal. Here is the neck, the shoulder. All the carbon is removed, all nice and clean. And the body looks nice and clean. Here are the lugs. There is the feed ramps. All right, so before we head out to the range here, I figure I'd just go over the optics, mount, and bipod. Right now I'm rocking the Arc optics, the SH4 Gen 2 6-24 magnification with a 50mm objective. Very, very affordable optic for the money. If you want an alternative to this, I'd probably look something at like maybe a Vortex Venom. They're 5-25 FFP, or maybe the Vortex Strike Eagle 5-25 FFP. Very comparable scopes, maybe a little bit of an edge towards the Vortex Strike Eagle. But you know, a good bang for the buck FFP optic, especially if you're getting into a more entry level build. I am rocking the Bobro QD mount here that has a self-torquing QDs here, and probably one of the best QD mounts that money can buy. The mount is damn near as much as the scope, with a 34mm tube and rings. I'm rocking a pretty standard Harris bipod, the 6 to 9 inch with notch legs. I'm using a Magpul M-Lock stud mount to attach it to the handrail itself. And in this situation, at least for factory ammunition, I'm just rocking a 10-round PMag. But with that being said, when it comes to my reloads, depending on the bullet and the depth of that bullet that I'm going to seat it at and the jump that I have, which I'm going to test that here during that live event. So make sure you're following that live reloading event on the series. I might have to use this steel mag, this Duramag that's made by C Products. And you're about to see that in future parts of the series. But with that being said, enough of the BS talk. Let's take this out to the range. All right, so I already measured up some of the headspace on this factory ammunition, but for those guys that are absolutely new, I just want to quick show you. This is really inexpensive Fusion, 165 grain soft point, more for hunting. Definitely not match ammunition, very inexpensive. This here is Federal Premium. This is 168 grain, which is using a Sierra Match King SMK. And I only have 2 of these left. And this, you guys witness, I just purchased. And this is that Winchester, the 100, I don't know if I can not drop the box here, 168 grain. Also SMK, and I'm going to try not to shoot this unless I absolutely have to, because this just cost me $36 a tag. The whole reason why I reload. But just to give you some of you guys that are absolutely new to reloading an idea of this headspace before I fireform it, this is coming
Up to a 1.620, 1.620, 1.620. This is 1.6195. We'll just say 620. And so far this has been really consistent.
And once again, very consistent, 1.620. So that's what I have written on the box here. Just to give me an idea of where this is starting out before it's fireformed. And if I absolutely have to, which I'm going to try not to, is use this Federal Premium. And this has come up to 1.6185. I'll just say 619. And this one here is also 619, and that's exactly what I have written on the box. So like I said, if I have to, I will go to this Winchester, but like I said, I'm going to try and return this. But just to give you an idea
What this is coming up to on Headspace, 6195. We'll just say 620. Also 6195. We'll just say 620.
So this one is a big difference. Let me make sure I'm zeroed out here and make sure I'm not smoking absolute crack on this. You can see how big of a headspace difference this is. Damn near 4,000ths of an inch. Let me grab another miscellaneous one here. And yeah, 622. So you can see the headspace bumps, or initial headspace on this Winchester is all over the place. And definitely usually get a lot better consistency on headspace with Federal ammunition. But like I said, I'm going to try not to shoot this unless I absolutely need to, because I'm going to return this for $36, which is absolutely insane. The whole reason why I reload. All right, so being that this is my first shot, so I'm going to get this roughly bore sighted in. So I got roughly about a 3-inch pasty at 50 yards, centered in my bore. I'm going to go up to my scope here. And this is harder than you know, but just to give you an idea of how far off this is. And it looks like I need to go down to the left just a little bit. All right, so it looks like that pasty is centered in the bore. And I am going to adjust this down without moving this upper at all. So right about there. And I need to go to the left a little bit. So that looks pretty good. This is still centered. You know, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just so you're not wasting ammunition. All right, so just to prove points here, just to show you that my calipers are zeroed out. And I'm just gonna grab a miscellaneous round out of the 5 here that I'm gonna try and shoot to verify my fireforming. And this is, like I showed you before, 1.6205. We're just gonna say 1.620. We'll see if this adjustable gas block needs to be adjusted. I'm hoping they did it already at PSA. I got my range bag up here to catch my brass. So, no issues there in the very first round, and it did lock back. So that is looking good so far. And I'm going to grab my brass out of here. We're going to check it out. So let's get you up close and personal here. I'm going to grab my bump gauges. So let me get this zoomed in here a little bit. So just to show you, so far the brass looks really, really good for the very first shot. Case mouth opening is as round as can be, so that's a reloader's dream. And the primer looks pretty darn good. No real cratering. It's a little flatness, but nothing that reloading can't solve. But that looks really, really good. No real ejector swipes. And remember, this started at 1.620. You guys are watching it here. And this expanded to, and usually you want to pop out that primer just in case that there is some type of cratering, which there is some mild cratering. So get a true accurate reading on this, I really should pop this out, but obviously I can't do this out the range. But it's going to be very minor. And look at that, it expanded a hell of a lot. 1.631. So we are talking 11 thousandths of an inch. And we're not going to know the true amount that this fire formed at until I can pop out this primer. But just to give you an idea, I wouldn't expect that to be any more than a couple thousandths. But let me clip you guys out of here and let's check out our zero. So yeah, it is off about 4 inches, so 4 or 5 inches. So we'll make this quick adjustment and we'll move it down to 100 yards. All right, so I got my crosshairs on my bullseye. Obviously I need to come down. So I'm going to adjust this and adjust this down until my crosshairs come in line with the bullet hole. All right, so I'm going to adjust this to the right until my crosshairs come in line with the bullet hole. And that should be good. Let's take another shot here at 50 yards. Grab another miscellaneous round here. And this one is coming up to also 1.620. Get my fire brass in here so I don't lose that, because that is precious gold in the reloading community. So we know exactly what we're going to bump our headspace to. All right, so right off the press, this will show you 1.620 it started out at, just to show you that this zoomed in. Doesn't really have a crater primer. Looks really good actually. I don't see any excessive cratering on that. Like I said, you really should pop out that primer to get a correct reading. But once again, exactly 1.631, 11 thousandths of an inch, identical to the previous shot. And that's what's called fire forming your brass, so you know how much to bump that brack. So I'm probably finish up the other 3 shots here and call it a day. I think I'm successfully accomplishing what I'm trying to do here, is to understand if I'm going to bump this brass back roughly 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch, I got a good starting point. And this brass is excessively fireforming over where it's starting. So let's go down and check out our second shot here, just to see how we're doing on our 0 at 50 yards. This is what it's all about, is saving money and not buying factory ammunition. And if you do have to shoot it, you're not wasting it. And that is awesome. So first shot, second shot, that is great. Let's move this down to 100 yards. All right, so I'm gonna grab the other 3 here. I'm not gonna measure this. I already showed it to you on camera. We all know it's starting out at 1.620. But let's take a 3-shot group here. I might adjust this after the first shot, maybe not. Depends how close we are. Let's get this going. All right, looks like we're pretty much right on the money there. We'll see how accurate this fusion is. Remember, this is a soft point. This isn't match grade. I'm not really expecting much out of this. We'll see. This is more hunting ammunition. So that really opened it up. Flew off to the right there. I'd say we're pushing a little over 2 inches. So like I said, really inexpensive hunting ammo. But this is not what the point is. This is all about fireforming brass, to see where this is fireforming. And so here's the 3 pieces I just pulled out. And I'm going to get you up close and personal here. Zoom in a little bit. And I'll see where this is coming in at. So I'm going to inspect this one quick. No dents on the side of the body here. Man, this rain out is terrible. Case mouth opening is as round as could be. I don't see any excessive cratering on the primer. So this looks like a reloader's dream. So this is zeroed out. And just like the other 2, exactly 1.631. So I'll put that in here. Next one, no dents, no real cratering. And this is also 631. You can see I'm spinning this, get a consistent reading. Like I said, you really should pop out those primers, get a really accurate reading, but I don't see any excessive cratering on that. I will do that when we get back to the reloading room, but you can already tell how consistent this is. And this one here doesn't really, yeah, it's got a little bit of cratering. You can see that cratering there. So that definitely would affect your headspace measurement, probably by 1/1000th or 2. But no ejector swipes, round case mouth opening. Really a reloader's dream. And this one is, get this done right here. So 16305, so 1631. All right, so just to use up this Federal Premium, we are zeroed out. And just to verify, this is 1.6185, I'll say 619. And pretty much the same, 1.618. So 618, 619, and we're going to see how much this expands. I did have a failure to fire there. So let's see what's going on here. Looks like it didn't strip it off the mag there. You can see it just grazed the top. So you can see it just grazed the top there. It's a little bit of a swipe there on the top. So let's keep on going. So at least on those 2 shots, I think we're pushing right about a minute of angle. So let's head down and see how we did. And before we do that, we are just going to quick make a point. So looks really, really good. A little bit of cratering there. It'll definitely affect this headspace measurement, but just give us an idea. 1.631. Same thing here. Just a slight amount of cratering. This is supposed to be a little bit more powder in there. This is match ammo, so that's definitely could be the case. And this is also coming up to 6325. So keep in mind this has some cratering on it. But all right, so let's get this paused. This is the SMK's factory. I'd say that's a little over an inch, probably about 1.25 inches. Just hovering right around 1 MOA. So for first shots, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, we're just fire forming. I'm not really looking for accuracy right now. I mean, yeah, it would be great if that was one big bug hole, but right now I'm just getting fire form brass. And this I am going to refund for $36. All right, well, I got the information that I needed. Let's head back to the reloading room. All right, so we are back from the range. I got my 5 Federal Fusion that I shot initially, and at the very tail end, I shot 2 out of this premium Federal ammunition, and I got the 2 here. So let's get this decapped so we can get an accurate reading on the Fireform Headspace. So there is the 5. And the other 2. So you can see on the Hornady Headspace gauge bushing sizing chart here, at least for 308s requiring the D400. That's what I have inserted into the body. So for those that are absolutely new, and just to verify that this is zeroed out. So let's get this zeroed out here. And let's check out the first 2 here. So the first one, so this is reading, it's hovering, we'll say 1.629. If I spin this, 6280, almost, if I spin this enough, hovers down to the 629. So 1.629, I'm just going to say 629, 6285. And the last one here is 1.6285. We'll say 629. So I think it's safe to say that this is fire forming at 1.629. Now, to be honest, if you want the true headspace, you might have to do a minimal headspace bump back on this and refire it, but it's going to be really, really close to this. 1.629 pushing 1.630. And usually for my ARs, I usually bump back from Fireform roughly 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch. So that means I'm going to be resizing this not brand new, once fired Lake City brass, 3 thousandths of an inch down to 1.626. So that's pretty much the name of the game when it comes to Fireforming brass, to see what you're playing around with. And what I'll do is I'm going to show you 2 miscellaneous pieces of this Lake City brass. And typically this Lake City brass has a very, very generous headspace on it. And if I get this to focus, usually this is fire of a military grade firearm that has a super generous headspace. You can see 632, and this is with the primers popped out. And let me grab another piece here. And this one is also, this one's right around there, 631. So just to give you an idea if this will focus in for me, it's pretty much 632, pretty much the same thing. So you can see that we're going to have to bump back all of this brass down to that magic number of 1.626, being that we fire form at 1.629. And it really is that easy once you get these gauges. Once again, I'll say this again, I said it before, I'll say it again, I'm not a huge fan of using case gauges. I like to reload for my firearms chamber and not a case gauge at SAMI spec. You notice when we took these initial shots, most of it was 1.621 and it expanded up to 1.629 once we popped out those crater primers to get an accurate reading. You can see popping out those crater primers will give you a more accurate reading, and when we're out at the range, you can see it's off by 1 to 2 thousandths of an inch. It does make a difference. But that's what we're going to do in the future parts of this live reloading series, reloading for this PSA 20-inch AR10 in the 308 chamber. Well, I'm excited to get this going. I hope you're learning something, especially if you're new to reloading. Make sure you don't miss out on the future parts of this live reloading event. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that bell and hit notification all so you get those notifications when I do go live. And once I do go live, those will be posted on my channel forever. Well, at least they take it down. So this should be exciting. Hopefully you guys can learn with me with this PSA 10, because when it comes to reloading, it's a never-ending journey of learning. Well, if you learned something, you enjoyed this video, scratch my back, and I'll continue to scratch yours by not only subscribe, like, and share, hit that notification bell, become a Patreon. It helps out more, you know, and I'll see you guys in the next live reloading event, and eventually the next edited video of the series. See you in the future.